Hey, this is Scott Hambrick of ScottHambrick.com, and got a little listener mail here today. I'm not going to name the guy. I'm going to read the P.S. first, okay? He says, P.S. I use the term radicalize above, which conjures up all sorts of images of civil unrest and unpleasant things. That's not my intention, but it seemed like a good word choice for the tension I'm trying to relay. So knowing that, let's go into what he says here. He says he's been reading heavily now for a year and been reading the classics and is a fan of the podcasts I do. And so thank you for that, sir. You know who you are. And he says, I have a question I've been struggling with answering for myself. It came to me after listening to your podcast on Propaganda by Edward Bernays. He said, we read these books that ask big questions about the good, and we attempt to get at what virtue is and to tell the stories of men and times that epitomize beauty. His question is, how does one not let these books radicalize them into casting off the current social norms? It can feel insurmountable to pursue the good or realize a life of relative autonomy and power in 2020. So he and I talked on the phone, and his question was, how do I... There doesn't seem to be a lot that's good and beautiful and true, and he wants to know how to do that. There's a lot about maybe your corporate job, maybe that doesn't feel like it's good, beautiful, and true. Maybe pop music doesn't seem good, beautiful, and true. Even billboards are degenerate. It's hard to get away from it. So how do we do that? How do we pursue that which is good and beautiful and true? This gentleman and I spoke on the phone about it, and I think we came up with a few ideas. Number one is when you do find something good and beautiful and true, I think you have to point to it, and you have to shout about it, and you have to let other people know about it. There's a lot that's bad, ugly, and false out there, and a lot of that stuff's very easy, isn't it? It's in your face. It's on the radio. It's on the recommended list on whatever streaming service you're on. That's the stuff that catches people's eyes and doesn't require much of them, but requires a whole lot of them, doesn't it? And when we find the good stuff, I think we need to shout about it and point it out to our friends and help other people take delight in those things. That's really what the Online Great Books podcast is about. We just recently did a show about Beethoven's Third Symphony, and that'll be coming out very soon. So we found something beautiful. I mean, it's not much of a discovery. It's been out there, and we know it's great. And we did a show about it, and we tried to tell people what we think is great about it and maybe point out why they might also think it's great and beautiful and true. So I think, pointing at those things is an important way to do that. And as we point them out, we're going to find other people that agree with us and sort of develop a community around that. Additionally, I think you're going to have to create a lot of it yourself. But you're going to need to probably broaden your definition of create. I think there's a lot of baggage around the word create. We kind of think of Michelangelo and sculpture and painting and Beethoven and writing music, but it's not just that. It's also making furniture, making useful things with your own hands that add value to other people's lives. I think or making anything that is valuable for other people. He and I talked about thoughtfully made, handmade furniture is really important. If somebody sits in a chair that you made lovingly from a design that you had improved on and cared about, it gives them a sense that there was a craftsman there, that there was skill and knowledge and effort expended there, that they may have a place to sit. It's a nice thing to know. But when you sit in some furniture from IKEA, maybe, there's no craftsman there. You might look at it and say, wow, somebody designed this very carefully and it's easy to put together. But it's a factory product, and it's there's something less human about it. than something with good mortise and tenon joints that was put together by hand by another. And I think that one of these products is a little dehumanizing, and the other one is more humanizing. So when we create something that other people appreciate and brings ease to their lives, I think that's beautiful and wonderful and true. So we need to find opportunities to make good things. It's not just, again, it's not just painting and sculpture. It could be furniture. It could be jellies and jams. I don't know. But it needs to be your thing, and you need to make it, and it needs to be of your own effort, of your own art, and of your own intellect. And you need to care about it, and you need to do as good a job of it as you can. But you have to act. Above all, you have to act. We can't just consume things that are put in front of us. We have to point to those good things that we do consume. We have to create things that other people can see and use. Not consume, but see and use. I think that's very, very important. But at the root of all this is actual action. And the work we do needs to be active, and it needs to be expressive of our humanity, right? And I think as long as we can find those kinds of things, we're gonna let a little bit of beauty creep in, you know. So find an opportunity to create, and those creations can be very small, and over time, I know that they will get bigger, but that's okay. Let them be small now and start today and act. Start creating. Let me know, guys. Let me know about what you're creating. You can go to scotthambrick.com and find a way to contact me there. Let me know about what you're creating, and if it's by golly, if it's good enough, we'll point to it, you know, because that's what we've got to do for each other. One last act of creation that you may consider, and I think it is under. You guys have probably, if you're following this podcast, you guys already know this about me. I think it's underappreciated, and that is the creation of a family and a posterity. There's something good and beautiful and true about children properly raised, and those don't come from out of nowhere. They require good people to do that, and to get into a relationship with someone else and get married is to create something out of really nothing, and then later to have children out of that is another enormously creative and satisfying and wonderful act. And when you do a good job of that, people around you know it, and it makes their world better too. So look at that. Nothing wrong with that. And if you see somebody around you that's working on that, maybe you don't have kids, maybe you're not in that relationship, maybe you aren't in a position to do it. You're too young, you're too old, whatever. And you see somebody around you that is doing it. Maybe it's a brother or sister that has had nieces and nephews for you. Pitch in and help those young people see these things that are good, beautiful, and true, and help them develop a radar, a BS detector, so they can sniff out that which is false and ugly and bad.